DNVR Broncos live, coming to you from random remote locations throughout the country.
I think we need to do a roll call. Where are we chiming in from today? Not only us three, but people in the comment section. Let us know where you're coming from today.
That's a good take right there. Also, Henry,
you know why you said it's a good take, Ryan? Is you started doing this many years ago, like right before a Broncos game. You'd put out on Twitter like roll call. So of course you're gonna say your idea is a good idea. I think that's the only time you ever say good idea to me is when I just steal one of your bits.
Wow. I try to say a nice thing about you and you just turn it into a bad thing about me somehow.
Yeah, I just tell the truth. That's what we are over here, right?
Crazy. Also, it feels like Henry, like because your head is lower than ours, feels like you're like really slouching.
Oh, I am. I don't know that this looks any better though.
Yeah, that looks weird. Now it looks like you're like menacing us.
Yeah, I feel like Henry's just really looking down on us this entire podcast. Was that intentional, Henry? You're like, I'm gonna position the camera so that these fellas just think I'm looking down on them the whole time.
No, he's looking up at us.
I don't think I'm looking.
I think he's looking down.
So I'm sitting on a bed, and so the computer's also on a bed, and so
roll call from
there
the
weren't many options. Yeah, so I'm in bed.
You didn't take the time and care like I did. I like found a box to set my computer on, so it was a little higher.
I mean, I feel like just stacking things on a bed, it bounces, just asking for it to fall off.
You should have gone to a better place than on a bed.
I don't have a better place.
You guys are on a bed. You're on top of boxes. I'm just, in my nice little studio on top of, a desk with a background. Look at me, right?
You're on top of the desk?
That's a good call. My computer is on top of the desk.
Fair enough. Well, Henry, where are you?
I'm in Keystone.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
When did you go to Keystone?
Saturday.
Okay. How was the traffic?
It was horrible. It was almost making it not worth it. So,
yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah. I came up to Steamboat yesterday, and originally our plan was like, we'll rally early, 8 a.m. wake up, on the road by 9, get up here, enjoy a full day in Steamboat. And then the Dead and Company show happened. And Saturday night went well into Sunday morning and took that 9 a.m. departure off of the table. So it was more like a 1:30 p.m. departure.
Ooh.
And a 4-hour drive up to Steamboat.
Wow. Yeah.
Wait, isn't it about a 4-hour drive?
It's like 2.5 if you do it right.
That's tough. So you just arrived right now.
Yeah. One of the worst feelings is when there's really bad traffic. And Zach, you go up to the mountains quite a bit. So like when you pass Idaho Springs on a normal day, it feels like it's like the first thing that happens. Like it's just boom. Yeah. Oh, there's Idaho Springs. 90 minutes in, we weren't to Idaho Springs yet. And it was just like, this is torture.
Where is the worst?
I have a computer. I've got a map. Yeah. That doesn't need to be a question for everybody. We left at like 3 on Saturday, and somebody who I'm not going to throw under the bus said, "Why is there so much traffic?" And I was like, "You're kidding, right? It's like 4th of July weekend."
Henry, is that the best thing about Montana? There's probably never any traffic.
Traffic is pretty rough up there now because everybody moved up there. So especially in the summer, like you get just the massive tourist season, so it gets annoying.
Like,
wow.
Like, what are we talking about here? Like, you waited a light for 2 cycles?
No, I mean, it depends on
other
where.
cars.
Like, if you're just like in random eastern Montana where nobody would ever go, then yeah, I mean, there's probably not even a light there. But if you're up, because I'm right next to like Glacier Park where all the tourists go, like there's, I mean, a 20-minute drive today is probably an hour or something, 40 minutes.
Oh,
wow,
yeah, no,
that's legit.
Crazy.
That sounds terrible.
No, we've got actually. I think they've changed the laws, but at one point we had like more helicopter tour companies than we had some other company that seems sort of. Things change. I'm not totally up on my Montana facts at the moment.
Okay, yeah, that was a nice half-baked Montana fact.
Something about helicopters.
Yeah. A lot of helicopter tours. I think those are getting banned or something, and I don't know why.
Interesting. Probably bad for the environment.
Yeah, but I mean,
half big take right there.
Yep. That's the other thing. We went to a lake here yesterday, and I was like, huh, it's green. Like, it's just green. And people weren't, like, allowed to get inside the water either. Also, there's just, like, a sheriff that was on a boat out there. Just a weird place.
Wait, so the water was green or, like, the trees were green?
Water. I mean, trees too, but that's less notable.
Interesting. Right. Yeah. That's why I thought you were saying, like, it's green up here. And I was like, what did you think the mountains were? But the water being green is a little interesting. It's
yeah, that's kind of strange.
It's probably algae.
Could be algae.
Sounds very scientific of you, Ryan.
Thanks. I'm pretty dialed in on my science facts.
Also, I'm pretty sure somebody in the chat said they were from Mount Laurel, New Jersey, which is weird because I didn't think they have mountains there. But I could be wrong.
Oh, they have hills there. They have hills on the East Coast. Oh, okay. Like they're skiing on the East Coast on some nice hills and stuff. But just like Minnesotans, you know, they say that they ski, but they ski some nice hills up there and stuff. If you want mountains, you come to Colorado.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I will admit, the first time I went to the East Coast, I was surprised that there was, like, you know, trees and stuff.
Not only are there trees, there is, I mean, it's the prettiest highway drive you can ever have going on the East Coast. Or, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is Colorado highways are really, really the worst highways ever because it's just concrete and stuff. Like the view of a highway, I never thought, like, I would think a highway is pretty, but then you go to the East Coast.
You ever driven on a highway called Interstate 70?
But like, yeah, okay, there's nice views around, but like just a traditional highway in Denver, I should say Denver, it's just, you're just like in this concrete jungle, and then you go to the East Coast and that concrete jungle, you're like in Narnia or something. I mean, you're just in like the middle of a jungle with everything is just green around you. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so pretty.
I feel like you're thinking specifically of Washington, D.C. when you say this.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking of DC. You're right.
The weird thing, though, is everywhere you go, you have to get on a highway.
That's true. I mean, you would know that better than I would, but yeah, highways everywhere. That's why they're pretty.
All right, let's get on the highway to our topic today, which is comeback player of the year. And this is a really interesting kind of discussion this year for multiple reasons. One, the Broncos have two, I would say, strong candidates. And I think that's just like an interesting thing to look back on last year and how so many things went wrong. And you're like, well, yeah, if you have two comeback player of the year candidates on your team this year, it tells you a little bit about what happened last year. And I guess before I move on, is there more than two, or is it just two?
No.
Tim Patrick?
I mean,
yeah,
it could be. If you look at the Bet365 odds, though, then Javonte's at plus 5,000, tied with Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Patrick would have to have a better case than those two guys, right? I mean,
yes.
if Tim has 800 yards, I mean, what would Jerry have to do for Tim to go from 0 yards last year and an injury to 800? What would Jerry have to do to go from 950 last year? Would he have to go to 1600?
No, there's literally nothing that he's coming back from.
But same with, well, okay, then what's Russell Wilson coming back from?
Being terrible.
And Jerry Jeudy is, I mean, you're right. I mean, Jerry Jeudy's would be coming back from being good.
I would literally bet everything to my name that Jerry Jeudy would never even be mentioned as a name in the comeback player of the year race this year.
That's why it is pretty crazy that he is on Bet365 odds to potentially win this. And didn't TJ Watt get injured last year? Maybe it wasn't season ending, but didn't he get injured to some extent last year?
I think there were some injuries, yeah.
And he has a TJ Watt. And the reason I bring him up is he's a massive national name. He's a guy that can definitely explode for 17, 20 sacks or something. And he has the same odds as Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. And that kind of blows my mind. Bet365 in the country is giving a little more credit to Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton than I would have ever thought.
Mm-hmm. And the thing about Tim Patrick, though, is that like nobody's winning comeback player of the year with an 800-yard season, unless like you were a multi-time Pro Bowler and your leg almost fell off. And then it's like, wow, look at the effort just to even show up. Like Tim Patrick, if he put up like 1,500 yards or 1,400 yards, and there's even the debate of like, what are you coming back if you were never there before? It's more of like a breakout season. If you're, let's say if they were Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton, but that's probably why they're way down there too.
There are like breakout seasons that are comeback player of the year, such as Geno Smith.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
So it's like actually I think I love comeback player of the year maybe more than any other award, because it's just a vibes award. It's just 100% based on vibes. Like merit really has nothing to do with this. It's just like who does it feel like this should go to, and then it just goes to them.
And on top of that, let's just look at the odds of where they are, and the vibes for this year specifically are like really feel good vibes, and the odds reflect that. It's bigger than just football. With the top 3 guys, Damar Hamlin, we've mentioned him before, minus 700. That is insane. Typically, odds for preseason awards, like my guess is Patrick Mahomes is the favorite to be the MVP this year, and he's probably plus 500, meaning you bet $100 to win $500. Damar Hamlin is minus 700, meaning you have to bet $700 to win $100. Those are insane odds. And of course, the feel-good story. It wasn't just a feel-good story in the NFL. It was the story for weeks on end in national news and even probably across the globe. I mean, Damar Hamlin almost died. Everyone knows the story about Damar Hamlin. So he's winning the game of life. He's literally coming back from almost death to now he's like a full participant in the offseason. It really seems like he's going to be able to play week 1. So that is going to be hard to beat. The odds say that. But then the guys tied for second are John Mechie, the receiver with the Texans, and Foster Moreau. Both of those guys just beat Moreau. Both of those guys just beat cancer and are coming back. So like those 3 guys, that's going to be, and those guys are plus 1,600 at number 2. Just shows you how much of a favorite Damar Hamlin is. But just those 3 right there in terms of the odds, you're going to have to do something incredible in terms of stats this year to beat those guys.
Yeah. Funny enough, I actually think Russell Wilson would be more likely to win MVP. Like he would have. I'm just saying, like he would have to have a season so good that he's in the MVP conversation to unseat any of these guys for the most for the comeback player of the year award.
The thing is, they haven't given the award to guys like that very often. Like Eric Berry got it after he got cancer, and maybe things are changing, and it is like a weird time having 3 guys with like the life-altering type stuff at the same time. But even Damar Hamlin, like he played 80% of the snaps for the Bills last year. As of now, Our Lads has him listed as the 3rd strong safety on that depth chart. And I don't know how much to read into that, but he's at least got to be on the field to be winning the award. And if he's like a potential cut candidate, I mean, at the very least, he has to be on a team to win the award.
So, yes, I think you just drew the line. First of all, there is a 0% chance the Bills cut him.
Probably.
Like, even if they feel like he's the worst player on the 53-man roster, they're still keeping him. And that being said, I think the only thing he has to do to be eligible for the award is just stay on the team.
Would you vote for him?
No.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing, and I wouldn't either. And it's, at the end of the day, the voters need to say, like, okay, he's the one who deserves it. But don't forget last year, Damar Hamlin had a vote for comeback player of the year when he did not. I think he might have still been in the hospital by the time the season ended. Like he did not come back at all last year in terms of the football field, let alone like the team facility or anything like that. So people want to give him this. And so Henry, I totally see where you're coming from, but I just think from a human standpoint, when it comes time to vote, people are going to say, yeah, I mean, he even if he played special teams, but was on the team, then, I mean, I think he's just going to win it then.
Really?
And also we have
think the NFL has a vested interest in him winning it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
I almost think they'd want that story to just die.
No.
Plus, they don't get to vote anyway.
What?
No.
I mean, they can tell people what they want them to do, but
just like captains, captains are chosen by the players, right? And there's never any behind the scenes work.
But the NFL doesn't count the votes. Doesn't give out the award.
You never know. I mean, I think the voters who they voted for does come out for this stuff.
Oh, does it?
So that's how we found out that, was it Susie Colbert or
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it might have been Susie Colbert who voted for Damar Hamlin. So they can't completely cook it from behind the scenes, but they can send their minions out to encourage the voters one way or another.
And so Henry, you're right that typically it's not every year that you're given the comeback player of the year award to someone who's coming back from like an incredible life story, not just football story. But there have been instances recently. You mentioned Eric Berry in 2015, but then just 3 years ago, Alex Smith won it in 2020 because remember, I mean, that brutal injury, he almost lost his leg like on the field. He almost lost it during rehab. He had so many surgeries that he had to go through. In that season, Alex Smith started 6 games. He had 6 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. That's not, I mean, in terms of football, you probably shouldn't be on the field playing. Now, he wasn't the starter, so Washington, and he wasn't their first option, but the fact that he played really showed that all he had to do was play a little bit and he was going to get that award. And so I just think that one of these 3 guys, especially Damar Hamlin, it would just be really, really hard to unseat. But there are situations, and Ryan kind of mentioned it, that if Russell Wilson's up for the NFL MVP discussion, that could do it. And let's dive into some numbers to kind of see what Russ would have to do, to see what Javonte Williams would have to do in order to compete with these guys, or on a normal year, get into these. But first, you got to put me on the screen, because you know what this puppy is right here?
Ooh, a little P&A.
Oh, little pins and aces. Ding, 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 Ryan. Pins and aces hooked us up with, I mean, they're going to hook you up with the coolest golf gear out there. Also, summer gear. I don't really have like flag shirts or anything for the 4th of July. So you just go to the Hawaiian shirt, and Pins and Aces just has the coolest designs. Also as comfortable as can be. They've got it all. And if you want 10% off over at Pins and Aces, use that code DNVR to get 15% off actually, and free shipping. Go to pinsandaces.com for all the best golf gear, whether you're wearing it, whether your clubs are wearing it, they've got it all at Pins and Aces. So check them out. Pinsandaces.com, code DNVR for 15% off and free shipping.
And make sure you sign up for Volo Sports. Right now, you can sign up for their monthly membership program, which will give you unlimited access to sports events and social activities every single night. It's unlimited pickups, drop-ins, and tournaments, and all it costs is $20 per month if you get a minimum 3-month membership. Or you could just pay $200 for the year up front and save yourself a little bit of money. There's also a beta version for $10 a month for 3 months. So look through all those options when you go over to volosports.com and check out all the different things that would let you do, because they have leagues all over the city, from Lodo to Uptown to Northfield to Arvada to Inglewood. I have no idea where Northfield is still. But if you use the code DNVR10, you get $10 off at www.volosports.com/Denver.
Really quick, Zach, you said you talked about if your clubs wear Pins and Aces. What's that called?
You know what? That's why I kept it vague. It's called the club head, though.
No.
No? It's called the head cover.
There it is. Yes. Ding, ding, ding.
Because didn't you lie to me one time? I said it. I thought I said it right, and you just went along with it. Now I'm too scared to go anywhere close to it because my wires are all mixed up.
Yeah, that was the point of that. I'm afraid of having children because it'll be too tempting to just teach them things backwards.
You're going to do that all the time, and they're going to walk into second grade feeling so confident about something, and then their teacher is going to be like, what are you talking about? Then instead of having parent-teacher conferences where they tell you like what your kid needs to improve on, the teachers are just going to scold you, Ryan. It's just going to be a parent-teacher conference for you.
They're like, why does Ryan Jr. think 1 + 1 = 3?
You're just
and I'm
like, why do you want dumb kids?
And I'm like, I don't know. I just thought it was a funny bit. And it is.
Wow. That's gonna be expensive. You have to like support them their whole life because they stay stupid.
Like I said, I need to mature a little bit more so that won't seem so funny to me.
Henry, they'll be good at golf. So they'll just play golf and then they'll be set. That's what.
Not
Ryan's
if he tells them that the goal of the game is to hit it as many times as you can.
Well, that's a good point.
It's like every sport. You want your score to be the highest, of course.
See, there we go.
Oh my God! All right, Zach, you said we're going to dive into some numbers. What numbers do we?
Yeah, and let's look at these numbers and got to give a big shout out to our producer Yahir for coming up with these numbers and this graphic. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see these numbers. If you're listening on the podcast side, I'll read them. But what Yahir did was he looked at the past 2 comeback players of the year. No surprise, both quarterbacks. Joe Burrow 2 years ago, who came off, I believe, a torn ACL. Geno Smith, who just came off being a bad and a backup to actually being significantly better than Russell Wilson. And the years that they had before they won Comeback Player of the Year, they averaged 7 games played, 2,000 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Then the year after that, when they won Comeback Player of the Year, so Joe Burrow 2 years ago, Geno Smith last year, they both played 16 games on average. They averaged almost 4,500 passing yards, 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 242 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Those numbers are just incredible, especially when you are averaging 2 players, especially when one of those players is Geno Smith. I mean, 32 touchdowns, 34 total touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and almost 4,500 yards.
Yeah, it's the only thing is they didn't have any clones that they were going up against to win Player of the Year. But
wow, conspiracy. Ryan Jr. is gonna think that DeMar's just a clone.
DeMar Hamlin 2.0. That's a normal season for us.
Outside of last
year.
Except
for the yards. Yeah, except for the yards, which are a little on the high side for him. But
he also runs the ball.
Yeah. But like a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception with around 4,000 yards would get him right in this conversation. It's just the competition is way different than what those guys had to face.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, outside of like DeMar Hamlin, the quarterbacks he has to compete with aren't all that good. I mean, like some of they have Lamar Jackson, Tua Tagovailoa, those guys up there. Like Lamar played 12 games, Tua played 13. I get that there's like whatever, he got hit in the head a bunch of times. At the same time, though, like if Russ and Tua put up the same numbers, I think the award goes to Russ pretty easily, just because Tua, it's more of an argument about whether he's actually coming back from something.
So my question is, what was a bigger storyline last year? Was it Russ just absolutely getting hammered week in and week out, not really on the football field, but more so just by people making fun of him and that national storyline? Or was it Tua and not just the concussions, but like the bigger story about concussions that surrounded Tua?
It's tough because at the beginning of the year is obviously Russell, because Tua, that stuff hadn't started yet. Right. But that's when all the Russell stuff was big. it was late in the year when Tua started getting hit in the head, when everybody's talking about the playoff race and like, are the Dolphins Super Bowl contenders? Is that offense for real? Like, halfway through the season, the conversations just all shift to real things that actually matter about football, because it's almost that time for the playoffs and all that. I think that's why things kind of shifted more toward Tua. People still made fun of Russell, but at that point, nobody had anything new to say about Russell by the time Tua started going. So it kind of just like shifted from Russell to Tua.
I guess what's more of a feel-good story? Is it Russ overcoming just being beaten down left and right to coming back and being a good player? Or is it Tua staying healthy, putting together? I mean, he had a great season last year when he was healthy, but putting that together for 15 to 17 games this year and leading his team to the playoffs, because at the end of the day, comeback player of the year, you do have to do something on the field, whether it's just literally show up or actually put together good stats. But at the end of the day, it really kind of is, who is the best feel-good story?
Unfortunately, while it would definitely feel really good for us, for Russell Wilson to get back to who we thought he could be, no one, like outside of Denver, no one is cheering for that. In fact, I think everyone is cheering for the opposite. They like having a punching bag. They want Russ to continue sucking so they can continue making fun of him, dunking on the Broncos for making that trade, dunking on Russ, all of that stuff. Like no one, Russ doesn't have very many fans outside of Denver. He doesn't even have fans in Denver. He got booed at the Nuggets game. I should say, doesn't have very many fans in Denver. So, like, the whole world is hoping that they can continue to play this game. And honestly, they would almost resent it if Russ comes back and, makes noise this year.
But I think that just adds to the comeback aspect of it, because everybody is pulling against him. I think that's what makes it even more of a comeback. There's, again, with Tua, it's like, I don't want to like minimize the effects of concussions, but he played 13 games last year. Like, we're talking about a couple of games he missed. It doesn't, I don't know how much worse he played because of the concussion issues. It just doesn't feel like that's too much of a comeback. It's just like, hey, he was able to stay healthy this year.
Yeah, and I totally see what both of you are saying, but unfortunately, what Ryan said about outside of Denver, I don't know if people want to see Russ actually come back. Man, I haven't thought about that, and that might just be the brutal, honest truth with this. Another quarterback that I think we just need to keep our eye on, and probably the only other quarterback, is Trey Lance. If he does play, Kyle Shanahan has had success with literally a person called Mr. Irrelevant, and Trey Lance is the 3rd overall pick. He could put up crazy numbers. But other than that, Henry, I think you're right about the quarterbacks just really lacking. I mean, you're talking about Justin Fields. I think he's can be a great quarterback in terms of numbers he puts up, but I don't understand what he's coming back from. He's not even coming back from like a bad year last year. He was electric and people knew that. So that doesn't make sense to me. But then the other guys, Baker, he's not winning this award. Matthew Stafford, that team is so trash. He's not winning this award. Jimmy Garoppolo, no, he's always hurt. People just write him off. He's going to be hurt anyways this year. So I do think you're right that it's a pretty weak quarterback class. I don't really think, unless Tua or Trey Lance goes off, I don't think that he's going to be competing with a 32 touchdown, 11 interception, 4,500 yard performance from another quarterback.
Definitely.
I think it's going to be really hard for us to win this. Russ is going to have to force his way into this conversation with incredible play. And like I said, at that point, it's like, does he have to play so well that he's qualifying for bigger awards?
And if he qualifies for bigger awards, I think something that's going to be key is being runner-up in the MVP conversation. Because if he wins MVP, then they're going to say, well, he got his MVP. Let's give comeback player of the year to someone else, because when did Peyton Manning win Comeback Player of the Year? In 2012, when he was the runner-up to Adrian Peterson for NFL MVP, which was BS, by the way. He absolutely should have been the MVP that season. But he won Comeback Player of the Year. It's kind of like okay, you didn't win MVP, you came in second, so now we're going to give you Comeback Player of the Year for the incredible season you had. So I think Russ can't win MVP and Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah, definitely.
That's possible. Oh, really?
You think so?
I think it's possible. Yeah. I mean, it's all I know is what I would do if I was a voter, and I would just look at them all and say, if I thought he was the best player, then sure, vote for him for MVP. If that's the case, I'm probably voting for him for Comeback Player, unless there is some other case for DeMar Hamlin, and maybe other voters say I'm just not willing to put the same guy twice on my ballot. But at the same time, like, those are rankings too. So, I mean, I think the ballot works, you vote top 5 for MVP, you vote top 3 for Comeback Player of the Year. If you vote Russ second for MVP, does that mean it's like, he's not a comeback player? Or if you vote him first, is he not? Like, I think because it's ranking, instead of just picking one, you might not split the vote so much that way.
That's a good point, but I think when you take a step back, you're just making too much sense, Henry. Because one of the things that never makes sense to me is, how does the MVP specifically, if the MVP is an offensive player, how does that person not win Offensive Player of the Year as well? And if the MVP is a defensive player, how does that person not win Defensive Player of the Year? You rarely ever see the crossover happen, and it's just because I think voters are like, let's just spread the awards. That's so stupid. If you're the most valuable player on the offensive side of the ball, you're also the best offensive player on the offensive side of the ball. They just spread it out. So I think you make a ton of sense. It always pisses me off when I see those things happen, because it's like that. No, you guys are just being ridiculous with these awards. Let's give the award to who deserves it most. And that's kind of like the MVP conversation that we've had too much here in Denver over this past year with Jokic. Is no, it shouldn't matter. Other things shouldn't come into play when you're talking about MVP. Last year's NBA championship shouldn't come into play here. It doesn't matter that Jokic before this year didn't have a title. He was the best player in the damn league. That's what the award is about, but you always get other factors that come in. And so I just think that's something that would happen here. And it doesn't make sense. So I totally agree with you, Henry. I just think that people don't view it that way.
Yeah. And the Offensive Player of the Year, they just need to rename it, because at this point, MVP is just best quarterback that season. Offensive Player of the Year is just best offensive non-quarterback that season.
Yeah.
Now, if we're going to do that every year, I don't know why they don't just change the name. But I guess if it is what it is, like,
what's the name?
does the
Best
thing.
Non-quarterback of the year on offense?
Yeah. And it's dumb to have that award, but we have it already. So why not?
Right. Might as well just make it clear what it is.
Yeah.
They could do what like the NBA's done, and they could just call it like the Adrian Peterson Award, and like then in the fine print it says like given yearly to the best non-quarterback of the year or whatever.
Let's not name any awards after Adrian Peterson.
I was just trying to think of a player who was really good that wasn't a quarterback.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's fair. The Javonte Williams Player of the Year award. No. Yeah, no, you're not buying that. Maybe they could name Comeback Player of the Year after him if he's able to win it this year, because he would have to have an incredible season. Let's dive into those numbers, what Javonte would have to do after I tell you about our friends over at Shady Rays, because you guys are at a higher elevation right now, which means polarization of your sunglasses is even more important, because the real reason I think why people should wear sunglasses is to protect their eyes. And then like the real reason that most people wear sunglasses is because it's just a lot more comfortable to not have sun just blaring in your eyes. But polarization is actually what saves your eyes and protects you against the sun. So if you're wearing sunglasses that aren't polarized, you're just doing it for looks and to feel a little better. You're not actually protecting your eyes. And that's the great thing about Shady Rays is all of their sunglasses are polarized, and you don't have to pay like triple the price to go from non-polarized to polarized like a lot of companies make you do. No, they're just going to give you polarized sunglasses at 50% off by using the code DNVR over at shadyrays.com. That's going to get you 50% off 2 or more pairs of sunglasses. So if you want a couple of pairs for yourself, 50% off. You want a pair for someone else and yourself, 50% off. That's the best way to get a gift, really, is buy one, get one free, essentially. So check them out over at shadyrays.com for the best sunglasses. I
do appreciate the polarization, but the only reason I ever wear sunglasses is to look cooler.
Yeah, of course. I know that about you, Ryan.
The sun just doesn't bother me that much.
It does. You might not feel it, but it does.
All through high school and obviously middle school and elementary school, never wore sunglasses. But once I got my first pair and wore them for like a year, there was just no going back. It's like, I have to have these for my eyes.
Also, 4th of July is tomorrow, so head over to, I guess, anywhere. They have Breckenridge beers just about everywhere in Denver and around Colorado. If you want to know exactly where, you can go to breckbrew.com, use their beer finder, and put in your zip code. It'll tell you what to pick up. I'm not really sure what the most 4th of July beer is, though.
Strawberry Sky.
Still Strawberry Sky? July.
Or Mountain Beach Sour. I mean, a nice light sour on the 4th of July. That's pretty good.
The sourness is like a little too, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. It's just
non-American.
It's like a little foreign. Although Strawberry Sky is a Kolsch ale, and just based on that word Kolsch, doesn't sound very American.
Yeah, I don't think that is American.
Probably just a straight Breck lager.
Yeah, that's very true. Or just, I mean, isn't Breckenridge Brewery itself pretty damn American?
Mm-hmm.
It is. It's very American. So definitely use that beer locator at Breckenridge Brew or breckbrew.com to pick up whatever Breckenridge beer you want to try. Make sure you drink a lot of those tomorrow, because I know all of us will be.
Speaking of American, oh my goodness, did people love and hate our draft on Friday? And Henry, got to give you credit. He had some people coming out of the woodworks to protect you, man.
Yes. No, I told you we needed a poll. I was like, yeah, here, put the poll up in the chat to see if people agree with me. And he said, no, we don't have time. And I said, all we need is 5 minutes. And he just said he didn't put it up. Then 5 minutes later, we ended the show. And I said, we had plenty of time to do that. I don't know why we didn't do it. So, yeah, it's a shame that I don't have any numbers to back me up. But I think we all saw what the people said.
No, don't worry, Henry. We have numbers here. You got 11% of the vote. Those are
because I couldn't get my picks.
Those are just the raw numbers right there, man. And I got to give myself credit for putting together the best draft and winning this one. 48% of the vote went to me, 41% to Ryan. Ryan, it was a tough race. I pulled ahead early. You came back and I pulled ahead at the end there. And Henry, you just continue to not put up fights.
Oh yeah, and I won't.
Yeah, so
I'm not good at those.
Someone actually messaged me today that another podcast was doing like punishments for getting last place in the draft. And I was just like, yeah, we couldn't really do that because it would just be Henry every week.
Yeah.
We'd have to do it
like,
as
just
well.
Like we
where
said,
we'd have to do something where it was like, if you get a punishment if you lose, but then you get an extra punishment if you don't even receive like 15% of the vote or something.
I would have received all of the vote had you guys allowed my picks to go through, as you should have.
I was glad to see, some people coming to Hank's defense.
All the people
because,
too.
A lot of people were going after him hard, but I'm just glad that, he has his support group to lean on. In tough times. Also, two things. One, I deserve a little bit of credit because I said you were going to win at the end of the draft.
It's true.
So
it's true.
Oh boy,
we'll pat myself on the back there. Good job by me. I know who's going to win. The other thing is, I blame the Supreme Court for making my number one pick seem less cool recently.
Damn. That's very true.
I was going through all the rankings after, because there's like I don't even know what to call them, social scientists probably, who like find math ways to say who's the most free. We're like 25.
20.
Like some will say like, oh, you're 22. Some will be like, 27. It's like, I feel like we should be more free than that.
I was so happy that Zac put in the copy of the tweet. Like, all it has to do is feel American. And then it's still that still fell on deaf eyes, I guess I should say, for many people who are commenting on it. Like, oh, we're the only place with fried food. Nope. No, we all know that this is not the only place with fried food or freedom. Right. The whole idea was just doesn't feel music. American.
Yeah, I still
American
can't.
Music
Henry.
Sure doesn't feel American, does it?
That's not a genre.
Yeah,
American music. No. Which
man, I that was love our 2-to-1 system. It's great because some people are making good cases, but at the end of the day, 2-to-1. I mean, Ryan brought up the justice system earlier. That's our justice system here is 2-to-1.
I know, but then it's actually not. It has to be unanimous.
If I was gonna screw over anyone in the draft purposefully, it would be Zac. He's the competition.
Well, and just so you guys know, I let you guys get away with everything. I don't think I've objected to a pick maybe ever. That's
your
now.
fault. That's
yeah.
Well,
no,
it should
apparently
be.
We're doing that strategically and not just trying to do the right thing.
No, my whole point was I'm always just trying to, when I'm drafting, I'm trying to be the best drafter I can be. When you guys are drafting, I'm trying to be the best jury member I can be.
Apparently.
I agree. I can't
believe
agree.
American music is too broad, but you went with freedom.
I stand by my votes on both sides.
Yeah. I think both. I think that's all fair game.
To be fair, I think I showed you guys, and just to show that I wasn't just going against Henry. I showed you guys my draft board. Freedom was my number 1 pick too. Freedom and then football. That would have been my 1, my 2. So just because Ryan picked it and it was a good pick, I can't just say that he's wrong because I was going to pick that one.
Had I known that you guys were going to say the music is too broad, then I would have said, well, you don't get to take every single one of the freedoms because that's just ridiculously broad.
It's not. It's just freedom as a concept.
Yeah, I'm taking American music as a concept. It's iconic. It's iconic. There's a reason people listen. Well, I also.
Why wouldn't you just take rock and roll?
Because I don't like rock and roll. I like the concept of America. Why didn't you take freedom of speech? Why didn't you take freedom of religion? Why didn't you get freedom to buy a gun?
You just take all the freedoms.
Why didn't you take American oxygen?
Because I don't care about that. I don't even think it's that good comparatively.
That sounds like a show.
Probably on
American oxygen.
Yeah.
Anyways, we could debate these things all week long, but we'll have to wait until this Friday for the next draft.
How much can we debate Javonte Williams winning comeback player of the year? Because since 2000, Ryan, we were talking about this, I believe, before you heard. So this is a trivia question for you. Since 2000, regardless of what site you look at, in terms of it's like the AP's winning it, the AP award winner or Pro Football Writers, guess how many running backs have won NFL comeback player of the year since 2000? We're talking almost 2.5 decades.
I'm going to say 3.
1. A single one. Only one running back has won it since 2000.
Was it Adrian Peterson?
It was not. Peyton Manning was the comeback player of the year that season.
Oh, right, because they gave AP
stole the NFL MVP.
Yeah, they got that one backwards.
They got it so wrong. I'm never gonna let the voters live that one down. But so it's happened once according to Pro Football Writers and once according to the AP. We go by AP rules because that's who actually gets the award. Pro Football Writers gave it to former Bronco Willis McGahee, not when he was with the Broncos, but when he was with the Bills. But the one that we're really going to focus on is the guy who actually won it with the real award was, who was it? It was Garrison Hurst in 2000. And I'll read the numbers of what he did the year before he won it. He played 6. Whoa, this is weird. Okay. So he missed an entire season because he had an ankle injury, a really bad ankle injury. So he missed an entire 2000.
2 full seasons.
Yeah, he missed 2 full seasons, which is crazy. And the year before he got hurt, he had 1,500 yards, 7 touchdowns, 500 receiving yards. So he had over 2,000 yards and almost 10 total touchdowns, missed 2 seasons. He came back, and in 2000, the year he won, he had 1,200 rushing yards, 7 rushing touchdowns, 350 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown. I mean, that is incredible to have that season after missing 2 seasons. That is pretty darn deserved from him.
Well, and then the crazy thing is, so that's almost 1,550 yards. Last year, Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley were the other finalists with Geno Smith. They both had at least 1,650 yards from scrimmage, and obviously Geno won. And I think McCaffrey was like close to 2,000 from scrimmage. Like, it just, people don't care about running backs anymore. It's just, it is what it is. If there's a top 10 quarterback who gets an opportunity, is coming back from something, that's enough to beat out an insane year from a running back.
And I mean, on top of that, Henry, the quarterback who won it, his name was Geno Smith. I mean, it's not like we're talking about like a Peyton Manning or like that sort of name going against maybe the most popular running back in the NFL today, and Christian McCaffrey. Like, Christian had the name.
Yeah.
What?
Maybe the 2 most popular.
Yeah, exactly. The 2 most popular names, but everyone knows who they are. It's easy to rally around compared to Geno Smith, like maybe still the most disrespected quarterback in the NFL, the starting quarterback in the NFL right now. Like, so even with the name recognition, those running backs still weren't able to get it done.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's kind of tough for running backs to do anything these days that gets recognition. Like, what did Derrick Henry finish in MVP the year that he had 2,000 yards? 3rd?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he really had a shot at winning it.
He's not a quarterback. That's a quarterback award now.
Yeah.
It's very true.
Lame. Kind of everything. It's just a quarterback league now.
Yep. Yeah, it absolutely is. Was that Aaron Rodgers who won it that year? It was. And so, you know who got actually Aaron Rodgers, or I'm sorry, Derrick Henry didn't even finish in the top 3 in MVP voting. The year Aaron Rodgers won it the first time, 2020. Can you guys guess who finished 1, 2, and 3 in MVP voting? The year Derrick Henry had 2,000 rushing yards.
Wait, what was the question?
In 2020, when Aaron Rodgers finished first and won MVP, can you guess who got 2nd and 3rd in MVP voting? The year Derrick Henry had 2,000 rushing yards and led his team to the playoffs. Like, it wasn't just an Adrian Peterson, like, I'm just going to run for 2,000 yards and do nothing for my team. No. Made the playoffs.
I'm going to guess Mahomes and Brady.
Close. Josh Allen finished 2 and Patrick Mahomes finished 3. So, can you guess who won AP Offensive Player of the Year?
Derrick Henry.
That's exactly. The non-quarterback MVP award. Henry, beautiful guessing right there.
Yeah. I don't know. Awards in general are just dumb. Like, it doesn't, I don't know. It's about winning football games.
But the thing that sucks about awards being dumb is they do matter. And that's what sucks about Pro Bowls now. Like, just, 7th alternates are getting in and stuff, is those things do matter when you're talking about a player 10 years ago or 10 years from now. And in the moment, we remember, like, man, that was such BS that person got jaded and wasn't given that award that season. And you remember it then, but 10 years after, you don't really remember, like, oh man, well, he had 10 Pro Bowls. He really should have actually had 14. So that's honestly the worst thing about the Pro Bowl in my mind. The game's an absolute joke. Now it's literally a joke. But I just wish that for players' legacies, that things like that were still taken seriously, and awards like this were still taken seriously.
Yeah, I was trying to find the story for the running back who I believe most deserves comeback player of the year all time. I think it predates the award, but I couldn't find the exact details of the story, so I'll just tell it as I recall it in my head. Byron Whizzer White, Colorado legend, the great one. Drafted 1938 or sometime around then, goes to the NFL, leads the league in rushing, leaves the NFL, serves in the war, comes back to the NFL, leads the league in rushing again. That's comeback player of the year.
Yeah, that is pretty darn cool. I'm not surprised though that you went to a CU legend.
Yep, number 4 overall pick in that 38 legendary draft.
Was he did he win the Heisman as well?
No, I don't think they even had the Heisman then.
Oh, yeah, they certainly wouldn't have the trophy, but with the famous stiff arm or move.
Yeah, was also valedictorian at CU.
Yeah, you make the argument that he's the greatest CU athlete ever.
I mean,
or football player. I remember we've had this conversation before.
It's so hard to compare resumes across that long of time, but I would say he has the best resume of maybe any athlete ever, if you just include everything.
So Ryan, how good would he be if he was playing on CU's football team right now?
I have no idea.
I don't think Dion would be offering him a scholarship.
Probably not.
At all. No, not at all.
Even Joel Klatt, when he interviewed Coach Prime, said, it's a little bit of a bummer for me because I think if you were coaching when I was here, I wouldn't be playing.
And he's the greatest quarterback? No, he's not the greatest CU quarterback.
No,
Number 2?
No. But he's good.
Wow, just disrespecting Joel like that. Okay, interesting.
Best CU quarterback to get drafted in the MLB draft.
Joel Klatt.
Who is the best CU quarterback?
Cordell.
Yeah.
Number 2 would probably be Coy Detmer.
Wow.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, we'll let that conversation happen at 11:30 today.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Javonte, there's a reason why we haven't talked about him much. It just seems so freaking hard. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, 6. Yes.
Second would definitely be Darian Hagan. It's just that he was kind of a running back, but that's fine. Anyways, go
on. So speaking of running backs, Javonte, 1,650 yards. That didn't do it for Christian McCaffrey. Javonte, 2,000 yards is kind of like that might be a little hyperbolic, but like 1,800 yards on the ground is probably what he needs to do to be in the conversation. And that probably still isn't beating those top 3 guys. 2,000 yards, and then Javonte's in the MVP conversation. And then it kind of just is exactly, I think, the same parallel to Russell Wilson being in the MVP conversation. If he's in that conversation, then he's probably winning the Offensive Player of the Year award, because that will go to the best non-quarterback, which will probably be Javonte. And then he's probably also in that conversation for Comeback Player of the Year. So, when we talk about Russell Wilson potentially winning this award, that's so much more realistic. Even though Russ is coming off the worst season of his career, Russ going for 4,500 yards, 40 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. We've seen him go for 40 touchdowns in his career before. We've seen him throw right around only 10 interceptions in his career before. We haven't seen him go for 4,500 yards, but I don't think it's that crazy to say that he could do that. That's just so much more likely than Javonte Williams' first year back from not just a torn ACL, but his entire knee pretty much exploding. It's so much more likely that Russ does that than Javonte to go for 2,000 yards.
Yeah. And I do, if he gets 1,500 scrimmage yards, I think that might be where the conversation kind of starts. Because 1,650 was enough to be a finalist last year. And I don't think you're getting, I don't know. It's tough because you have DeMar in there, who's almost guaranteed to be a finalist, probably. And so one of those spots is already gone. But outside of him, the field is just not that strong this year. Like, you don't have Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley, and the year before you have Joe Burrow, and there's just been so many big names. This year, it doesn't feel like there's nearly as many. I definitely go Russ.
Yeah.
By a mile.
I do too. I'm right there with you, Henry. I don't think it's close. You also have other running backs in here. Jonathan Taylor, is that just coming back from
being bad,
being disappointing? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but talk about just a bigger name nationally.
True.
This is Calvin Ridley is in here. Talk about like the opposite of a feel-good story. Like, what Calvin Ridley did wasn't like, he didn't commit like a massive crime or anything. So it's not like people hate him, but like, I mean, the dude broke a rule of betting and was suspended a year. The punishment was definitely way too intense for what he did, but like, that's not a feel good award. Like, you did something you shouldn't have done, and now you came back and played good football. Whichever Lawrence is your quarterback, we're going to give you this award. So it's pretty funny that he's on there though.
But
Michael Vick won.
But don't you remember that?
No way.
Yeah, Vick won. He came back and was a backup for a season, and then the next year he won it.
But remember, Calvin Ridley when he got popped for betting, he was away from the team just for like personal reasons. Remember that?
Yeah.
So that kind of gets played into it.
Yeah. Yeah. And he wasn't betting on his own team. Like you said, like he wasn't even with his team, but he wasn't even betting on the Falcons then. Yeah, that's true. You're right. That's a good point.
I forgot about that, honestly, until you started talking about it, and then it kind of clicked in my head.
That's a good point.
Okay, so it is kind of broad. So it's given to a player who shows perseverance in overcoming adversity from not being able to play the previous season, such as an injury, or for playing well in comparison to the previous year's poor performance.
Wait,
so it isn't just for injury.
Okay.
That's the definition of the award.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty wild that the Broncos have 5 guys on here, and the odds just seem so incredibly stacked against any of them winning. And Russell Wilson has the 8th best odds, according to Bet365.
Really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really is. And you guys talked about how tomorrow is the 4th of July. Some bad things can happen on the 4th of July.
Oh,
and if you know someone, yourself, a loved one, family member, friend, and something bad happens to them, call our friends over at Baxter and Shanker. They are there to protect you. 222-2222. Whether it's fireworks, whether it's automobile, whether it's bicycle, any sort of accident where you need help, call our friends over at Baxter and Shanker, where they are there to help you in the bad times. They've gone through similar things, unfortunately. So not only do they know how to win for you from a legal standpoint, they know what kind of the emotional pain that you're going through. So they are the people to call at 222-2222. Give them a call where you don't pay for a consultation. You don't pay when they work on the case for you. You only pay when they win, and they win big for you. They've won over $1 billion for Colorado clients. So contact them at coloradolaw.net or at 222-2222. All right, guys, shall we get to some comments? Should we talk to some people?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, we've got some comments on the website. First one coming in from our friend 805 Bronco says, RK, my guy. Very rarely do I disagree with you on the pod, but you absolutely had the worst take in the history of podcasting. If my life depended on you either dunking a basketball or hitting a hole-in-one within 24 hours, I am 1,000% handing you a putter and a truckload of chewed-up top flights on a 150-yard par 3 instead of a basketball and a pair of PF Flyers on a 10-foot hoop. Golf is hard, I know. I played just shy of 3 decades, 0 hole-in-ones, but it's a fact that you are more likely to get a lucky bounce than you are to magically gaining 20 inches on your vertical in one day. Dude, did you slam your head into a steering wheel while inhaling your chorizo burrito on your way to work? Anyways, happy 4th, fellas. Hope you all have a good one.
You just didn't take into account that there's other people on the court. Anything could happen.
But
not that though.
Didn't Hank look up the rules and you can't dunk a basketball off someone else?
Well, you can. They just can't help you. So you could potentially launch yourself off a defender.
They just can't.
Wouldn't that be a foul? That sounds like a foul to me.
What if it doesn't call it?
Someone that does sound like a foul.
If you jump on a defender's back, I think they're calling it.
What if they don't?
They will.
Refs miss calls all the time.
Not that one.
That one seems pretty damn obvious.
I'm telling you,
they're blown away by it that they don't even blow the whistle.
You can probably look this up, but there are videos of people who can't dunking in games just because they got like boosted by someone who was jumping at the same time as them, and like all of a sudden they're just way up there. They tip dunk.
I'm gonna need you to find those videos, Ryan.
I will.
I think I'm on the side of 805 Bronco, Ryan. I trust your golf skills.
Yes. I hate when people hold me accountable for things that I said when I was just being argumentative for no reason.
Yeah, that's tough.
People are listening, that's Ryan. Got Zac. It's got Zac put in one word. Do we think that's just got Zac?
Yeah.
That's who this one's coming in from. He says, "What's up, guys? Longtime listener and first-time commenter. My question is, are we putting too much assumption into Marvin Mims being good as a rookie? Hasn't seemed like people are talking about any potential slow rookie start and saying 300 yards would be disappointing. He definitely can be the guy. I surely hope he will, but I don't see much caution, and I'm interested in your thoughts. Thanks, and keep up the great work." I think it's a really good point. I certainly am taking Marvin Mims for granted as being good as a rookie. I definitely am. I think he's going to be the number 2 receiver for the Broncos at the end of the season. And I'm putting my faith in Sean Payton because he's done it with rookies before. He knows the proper way to groom rookies as rookies. And I just think that Sean Payton's proved it before, so I'm giving the credit to Sean here. But you're absolutely right. I mean, just to say that a rookie's going to come out and be good is a slippery slope to go down.
Yeah. I mean, things have just changed so much. Like, I even remember, well, I guess it would have been about 2020 that things changed when it came to rookie receivers. Because before that, it was rookie receivers, you just can't count on them. Like, they're not going to provide much of anything. And then Justin Jefferson goes out there and Jamar Chase the next year. And then all of a sudden you're getting 1,000-yard rookie receivers every year, which is kind of crazy. I don't expect much from Marvin Mims this year. I think that between him and KJ, you're going to have like that's kind of your field stretching duo, and whoever plays. And they probably combine for 500 yards this year. That's where I'm at.
Damn, I'd be disappointed in that.
I have to say I'm not really counting on anything from Marvin Mims. So I don't think I'm in danger of like getting my hopes up too high. I think that he has a chance to do some things, but I'm not like banking on him like to make the offense tick. It's like, oh, if he turns out to be good enough to crack this rotation in a meaningful way, then that would be great news for the Broncos.
Yeah, I'm ready to be absolutely destroyed because I am expecting a lot from Marvin Mims. So things go wrong, boy, am I just going to be shattered. So you're probably right, though, got Zac. Next comment coming in from the Count, September 3rd. 1972. The Dead plays Folsom Field, and magically 1,000 four-finger lids of good Mexican weed mysteriously appears and falls from the sky to a rain-soaked crowd complete with matches and papers. Tickets were $4.50 to see one of the greatest live music shows of all time. A few weeks later, the Broncos beat the Oilers 30-17 behind Floyd Little's 101 yards on the ground. And that same weekend, Pink Floyd played the University of Denver Arena, where weed was also smoked most likely. That is all.
Most likely.
Love the Count.
Damn.
Wow. What a time.
That is a history lesson.
That was a great history lesson. I randomly just like got to reading about that 1972 show before we went to Folsom on Saturday. And like, I don't know how people like, it's funny because we talk about things like in sports this way, but I had never heard people talk about concerts or acts this way. But like one of the comments under this picture from the show was like, wow, like all those people have no idea that how lucky they were at that time to be there. Like, that September of 1972 was the Dead's best month playing ever. And I was like, huh, like I didn't know that people thought of things in that way when it comes to music.
So only with them.
They were playing 50 years ago?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. That is why I thought he like might be talking about like a different band because that's wild.
Yeah, I mean,
I know
there are some differences in the band.
But
probably, there was one big show in Missoula. I don't know what was notable about it, but it was right around that same time. That's another one that I know I've heard people talk about.
Was it a good show, Henry?
During that magical month from the Dead.
It could have been. I know it was
they
right
were
around
on a heater.
The thing is, they have played
They were
shows all the
smoking a
time,
heater.
so.
The Count also comes in with a comment and says, "Have you eaten at Saucy's Southern yet? Love the Count."
So we were on. We had Cam Sim and Craig from the Buffs on our show on Friday, and I was like, "Have you found any restaurants that you love in Boulder yet?" He's like, "No, not in Boulder, but yes in Denver." I come down to a place called Saucy Southern like 3 times a week. So it's right over by DU, and it is very much on my list. I haven't really been in Denver since that show, so as soon as I get back, I'm going to Saucy Southern.
This is so random. I mean, it's a new barbecue spot that it opened fairly recently because it's actually across from the place that I used to live, and it was definitely not there when I lived there. It is not a spot you would expect for good barbecue to be, but if someone's driving all the way down from Boulder multiple times a week, it must be really good.
I know. It's really interesting, not that you guys care that much, but this new crop of like CU players don't act like college students, like at all. It's very odd.
It's because they're not being paid like college students, is my guess.
I don't know. I just like they talk about how they don't go on campus and like they drive to Denver to eat. Like it's very odd. It's very different.
Yeah, typically when back in my day, you kind of just stayed on campus and maybe like walked 2 blocks away for a party or something. There wasn't going much farther than that.
My entire universe existed between Pearl Street and the Hill. Like that was this is the only places I ever went.
That is crazy. All right, final comment coming in from our friend Arvada Luke says, "Fellas, Hank doesn't seem like hot tubs or pools or the ocean or allergy or allegedly getting wet. Don't feed him after midnight or he turns into Kahan, the DNVR's foremost Chiefs fan." I'm going to get ahead of that one. Is it the Gremlins reference? If you haven't watched it yet, add it to the list. Speaking of movies, being a father to an infant has you picking up all sorts of weird, socially unacceptable habits, like watching a movie split up over 3 separate evenings. That's very acceptable. And
that's
messed up in
that's
my
just
head.
Gross. What's the point?
Zach will watch that movie in 3 sittings while he eats his Chipotle burrito in 3 sittings.
When I was on the bike this morning, I watched 20 minutes of Mission Impossible. I have 10 minutes left. I'll probably watch that later today. Maybe split that up into 2 segments too. Really juice the last couple of minutes out of this one.
That's insane.
I love it. He says, speaking of movies.
Only acceptable thing, which is always kind of enjoyable, is watching a movie late at night, falling asleep on like a Friday night, not finishing it, then waking up Saturday morning, finishing it.
But like you could have that feeling multiple days in a row if you just split it up 5 times.
It's not a good feeling though. It's just kind of like, all right, got to get this done like first thing in the morning.
Wow, but then you're not enjoying the movie.
Finish Pitch Perfect 2.
Yeah, if I don't finish the movie that night, I'm probably just not going to finish it.
Damn, I just look forward to movies. Maybe you're not watching enough Tom Cruise.
That could definitely be. I don't even know. I did see part of one of the Mission Impossibles.
You've only seen one? Oh my gosh, another one's coming out. I can't wait. Okay, he goes on and says, absolutely brilliant getting baby gear in the DNVR locker. Top Gun's one. Arvada's cutest little gal has already had 2 parades in her metro area and has a ton of street cred now with a couple Nuggets DNVR onesies. I love to hear it, Arvada Luke. Love it. Check out the DNVR locker for all your baby needs as well. He says, took me all of my 33 plus years to find a sports outlet with immaculate vibes, and the lucky gal gets to be a diehard from day one. Cheers, Arvada Luke. That is too cool.
That is great. Cool. And yes, the baby gear is popping. I think we have collectively between what Spencer bought for himself and what Allie and I bought for Spencer and Kylie, I think their soon-to-be baby will have every option that we have in the DNVR locker.
You sell out the store?
Yeah, we had a sampling of everything, the whole menu.
Oh, that's gonna be so fun for them.
Yep. Anything else?
I think that's it, guys.
All right.
Wow.
Well, everyone have a safe and happy 4th. Don't put yourself in a position where you have to call Backus and Shanker.
No. Smart. Enjoy responsibly. Isn't that what they say?
Yes, exactly.
Today's the day to be American, not smart.
Okay. Well, everyone pray for Henry.
Wow. We'll hopefully see you on Wednesday, Hank.
Hopefully. We'll see.
A programming note, we are off tomorrow. We'll be back with you guys in studio on Wednesday.
See you guys.